Granddad was the youngest. So his brother was quite a few years older than him. I don't know how many years, but quite a few years older. And of course, my granddad must have been, I don't know, must have been in his 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So his brother was probably in his 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And he just collapsed, and they thought he died. And in those days, they laid you out in the house,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the coffin. You were in the house, and they totally thought he's dead. He went to sell a cow in the market. That took a day or two, so he can do the funeral. And then when he came back, and you know, they were arranging the funeral and everything else,
Yeah.
calling people
Mm-hmm.
for the funeral, he woke up. He woke up, and he got up in a shock. And for the first few days, he didn't talk. He was really, really apparently angry. He was smashing everything in the house. He locked himself in the room. He wouldn't let anybody talk to him. I don't think he even ate. He just wouldn't. And of course, they were all shocked because they thought, you know, he's
Mm-hmm.
dead.
Yes.
To have somebody woken up
Mm-hmm.
like that when you thought, you know, they died.
Yeah.
So the shock for everybody, the shock for the neighborhood as well. So it took, I think, before he started talking to somebody, it probably took him a week or so, but I would need to check on that with my sister, how long before he started talking. And then when he did start talking, he said that he died, and there were two angels waiting for him on the other side. And the angels said to him that they were gonna take him anywhere he wanted to go. Anywhere he could choose, and they would take him there. So if he wanted, wherever he wanted to go and see. But he said his whole life flashed before him very, very quickly. And he saw everything he'd done, the good things, but the bad things as well. What he, you know, over the years that he'd done. And everything was just like a picture, just going through him. Memories of everything, his whole life. And then these angels, they started taking him. Oh yeah, they said that he will have his judgment day, and whether he will be in heaven or hell, depending on what he did in his life. But the judgment isn't to be made yet. And they wanted to show him what hell was and what heaven was, and as they were going with him, below him, he said he saw hell. He saw hell of people screaming and burning and crying, and apparently the angels have said that those were the people that were evil, and they are being punished now for what they did in their lives. And they were put, that's why they're there, to feel the pain that they've caused others. And then they were taking him through heaven, and he said he went into the fields, and the most beautiful fields with beautiful flowers. And there were children, lots of children picking those flowers. And he said that the children that were christened, they could hold on to their flowers, but the ones that weren't christened, they were losing them, and they were picking them again and losing them. and he was told it was because one were christened and the others weren't christened. And then he took him, but he said the feeling was such a wonderful feeling. The feeling was you just wanted to stay there. It was just, everything was just what people talk about heaven, you know, sheer beauty, sheer tranquility, peaceful. And then he went. They took him to this place where it was rows and rows of tables of people sitting down, but you couldn't see. You could see the beginning, but you could not see the end to it at all. And he said there was light in front of some people, and there were people there that didn't have so much light. And again, the angel said that, you know, the people on earth, the light candles, the more candles they light, the more light you have around you, and the ones that don't, they have less. So he went. So he was taken to the head table where this man, grey-haired man, was there, but looking quite powerful man. And the angel said, we have bought you. His name was Dusan Yakovlevich. We have bought you Dusan Yakovlevich here. And this man looked at him and looked at them and said, well, you bought the wrong man. Why did you bring him? You have bought the wrong man. He needs to go back. You need to return him back. And he said that he begged them. And this man said, which he thought was God to him, he thought this was God. He believed this was God. And this man said to him, it's the wrong Dushan. It's the other one that I wanted. This one, his time isn't up yet. He needs to go back. And he said he didn't want to go back. He wanted to stay, because it was so beautiful and so tranquil and so peaceful. It was what he imagined heaven to be. And he said he begged and begged and begged and begged to stay. He wanted to stay. He didn't want to go back to earth. He didn't like what he had on earth. He wanted to be there. And then all at next thing, he remembers waking up, being in the room, being shocked, couldn't understand what he was doing in a coffin. They just didn't understand what he was doing in a coffin. Didn't understand. He wanted to be back. He didn't want to be in there. He didn't want to hear anybody else's voices. He couldn't understand why all the people were there. He just wanted them out. He just wanted to be alone. He felt he needed to be alone, and that's why he locked himself. And it was quite a few days before he could talk to Granddad and tell him what his experience was. And apparently, when he was in heaven, this man said to him, his time isn't up yet. This is the time that is his time. And he gave him the date. He gave him the date, which was quite a few years later. And when he came back in the village, there was another Dusan Yakovlevich, and he died. He died on the day that this one came back. And he was told when he would die. And so many years went by, and he was at a wedding, winter wedding, icy, very, very icy. And as he was coming down the stairs, this woman was rushing down the stairs, and she pushed him, accidentally pushed him, and he slipped, fell and hit his head really, really badly. and of course, uh, took him back to the house, and my granddad was really, really angry, and he wanted to go and kill the woman, and why she pushed him or whatever. And he said to granddad, no, 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 this is my time. I've been told that this would be when I die, and this is my time. And apparently he died.
Mm-hmm.
He died.
It's amazing.
It is amazing, you know. I mean, my granddad, because he experienced it, he knew the details. And my mum remembered bits of it because she was only 7 years old, but she remembers the funeral, and she remembers him waking up, and he loved my mum because he didn't have any children, he wasn't married. So my mum was like they lived in the same house.
Yeah.
Like his child. And mum said that he loved her so much, but even he wouldn't talk to her for so many days or whatever. Every time she wanted to go and talk to him, and not because my grandfather used to say to her, you go and try and talk to him, you take him food, you take him, and he didn't want to talk to anybody. And he made up a rhyme. Something about experiencing heaven, and he's going to be there again afterwards. And then he stopped talking about it after a while, because apparently the villagers then started making fun of him.
Yeah.
Because when somebody can't explain something,
Yes.
they make fun of him. So yeah, that's the story. But I can talk to my sister